This story starts with a man named Andy Dufresne, who is a banker by profession and is presently in a court because he has been accused of murdering his wife. Now, during the hearing, Andy tried his best to prove himself innocent, but the court dismissed all his arguments and he was sentenced to life imprisonment twice, which meant that now Andy would have to spend the rest of his life in jail. After this, Andy was sent to a jail called Shawshank, which is one of the most dangerous jails in the country. Here, inside the jail, we see a man named Red, who was giving an interview to the jail's board members. And in this interview, the board members will decide whether they should bail out Red or not. Now, Red had been in this jail for 20 years, but he had never passed this interview. Now, the same thing happened this time as well, and despite all the efforts of Red, his bail was dismissed. On the other hand, a truck entered the jail, in which the new prisoners of Shawshank were kept, and Andy was also included in these prisoners. Now, seeing these new prisoners, the old prisoners started betting on them that which one of them would break first. Here, Red's bet was on Andy because he was looking very calm and quiet. However, Red lost this bet because at night, another prisoner's courage broke and he started crying loudly. Now, as soon as he heard this voice, Captain Headley reached the prisoner's cell and pulled him out of the cell. Headley is the chief guard of this jail, who enjoys torturing prisoners. Now, Headley took out all his anger on this prisoner and beat him like a dog for the next few hours. Now, the next morning, the other prisoners got the news that due to Headley's torture, that prisoner lost his life. Hearing this, Andy was very sad, and he tried to find out the name of that prisoner. But the other prisoners didn't tell him anything and asked him to mind his own business. Now, the same days passed, and now Andy was also getting used to the jail. Meanwhile, he found out that Red smuggles different things in the jail. So, he went to Red and demanded a small hammer from him. Hearing this, Red thought that maybe Andy is trying to escape from this jail by using that hammer. However, Andy refused him and Red accepted his demand. Along with this, he also warned Andy and told him to stay away from the gang in the jail. The leader of this gang was Boggs, who troubles the new prisoners coming to the jail a lot. Now, Andy's condition was also like this, and in the initial months, he used to either go to the laundry room or fight with Boggs and his friends. But despite this, Andy was happy because Red and him became good friends. They used to stay together and spend most of their time talking to each other. Now, one day, there was a job vacancy in the jail in which the prisoners had to repair the roof of the jail. Here, Red made his own arrangement and got his other friends as well as Andy in this job. Now, one day when Andy was working on the roof, he saw Captain Headley, who looked very upset. Now, after listening to him, he came to know that this time Headley has to pay a lot of tax. Now, since Andy used to be a banker, he went to Headley and told him how to reduce the tax amount. Now, at first, Headley was very angry, but after seeing Andy's knowledge, he was also shocked. Here, Andy said that if you let me do this job, then I will have your tax amount. But in return, you will have to make me and my friends drink chilled beer. Now, Headley agreed to this deal, and as soon as the job was done, he gave Andy and his friends chilled beer as a treat. Now, such days passed and Andy was still in the environment of the jail. He also befriended the other prisoners of the jail, and now his life was going on very well. Now, after a few days, he again went to Red and put a strange demand in front of him. Actually, Andy liked an actress named Rita Hemsworth, so he asked Red for a poster of this actress. Now, at first, Red felt a little strange, but still he accepted Andy's demand. Now, the next day when Andy was doing his job, the people of the sister gang attacked him. However, this time Andy was not scared and started threatening Boggs and his friends. Seeing this, Boggs was also a little scared. But despite this, he beat Andy so much that he had to spend many days in the hospital. Now, due to this beating, Boggs was locked in a dark room for a month. And when he came out after a month, Headley beat him so much that he became paralyzed forever. On the other hand, when Andy was discharged from the hospital, Red gave him a poster of Rita Hemsworth as a gift. Here, the warden of the jail also found out about Andy's ability, so he went to Andy's cell to investigate. Here, he saw that Andy was quietly reading the Bible, and even during the search, he did not find any illegal items from his room. Seeing this, the warden was very happy and asked Andy to keep reading the Bible. Now, a few days later, Andy was given the task of managing the jail's library along with a prisoner named Brooks, and in return, he would have to give financial advice to all the jail officers and help them save tax. Now, a few days later, Andy thought that we should make the jail's library bigger. He talked to the warden about this, on which the warden said that if you want to make the library bigger, then you write a letter to the government and ask for funds. Now, Andy did exactly the same and kept writing letters to the government for the next few weeks. Now, such days passed, and with time, Andy had also become quite famous in the nearby jails. And now the other jail officers also came to Andy for financial advice. Along with this, Andy became the financial advisor of the warden and started helping him plan the warden's retirement. Now, one day, Brooks made one of his fellow prisoners a hostage, and seeing this, there was a commotion in the entire jail, because Brooks was a very calm prisoner, and he had not broken any of the jail's rules till date. Actually, Brooks's sentence was about to end, and he was but instead of being happy, he was very scared to go out, because in these 50 years, the outside world had changed a lot, and that's why he tried to kill one of his companions, so that he could live in this jail for the rest of his life. However, at the last moment, Andy reached there and explained to Brooks that there is a world outside this jail that is impatiently waiting for him. Now, he tells Red Andy that the walls of this jail are very strange. They bother you at first, but over time, you get used to them. Now, a few days later, Brooks was released from the jail and was quite surprised to see the modern world outside. Although he was free now, he was still not able to forget those 50 years he spent in jail. Now, outside the jail, he had neither a home, nor any friends, nor any family. Now, to put himself in this environment, he started working in a supermarket. But despite this, his loneliness did not decrease at all. And in the end, he did what no one expected. Brooks hanged himself in his hotel room, and before leaving, it was written on the wall that Brooks was here. On the other hand, Andy had been in jail for 6 years now, and after these 6 years of hard work, the government sent some money to the jail so that he could expand his library. Along with this, the government sent a lot of old books and some CDs of songs for that library. Now, in the midst of all this, Andy got a CD of a very famous song, and he wanted to play this song to his other friends as well. So, he went to the warden's office and locked himself in that office. After this, he played that song on the loudspeaker, and as soon as he heard this song, the other prisoners of the jail stood up. And the most dangerous prisoners in jail were also lost somewhere in the beauty of this song. However, the warden did not like this, and he locked Andy in a dark room for 2 weeks. On the other hand, let's look at Red, who had been in jail for 30 years now. And once again, he went to give an interview to the board members in the hope that this time he would get a bail. But like every time, this time too, Red's bail was removed. On the other hand, the government increased the budget of the library while looking at Andy's good behavior, and Andy was also using this money quite well. Now Andy taught the other prisoners how to read and write so that when they came out of jail, they could find a good job and settle down. And what happened to Brooks should not happen to them. Now such days passed, and the warden used Andy's knowledge to earn a lot of money. Along with this, he started using the other prisoners of the jail like laborers, which doubled his profit. Now to hide the warden's illegal money, Andy opened several accounts in different banks, and all these accounts belonged to a man named Randall, which was not a real person, but was just a name on the documents. Actually, Andy did this so that if the police found out about this scam, then their attention would go to a man named Randall, not to the jail warden. Now such days passed, and in 1965, a new prisoner named Tony was sent to this jail to serve 2 years. Now Tony was a tall, broad-faced man who would get along with anyone very quickly, and as soon as he came to jail, he befriended Andy and Red, as well as the other prisoners. Now one day, Tony went to Andy and asked him for help in completing his high school studies. Here, Andy also agreed to this, and for the next few months, he gave Tony personal tuition. Now after so much hard work, Tony was finally ready to sit for the exam. But during this exam, he got very frustrated and put his answer sheet in the dustbin and left. But despite this, Andy took out that answer sheet and submitted it to the exam board. Now the next day, when these people were talking to each other, then Tony made such an opening in the conversation that Andy lost his mind. Here Tony told that before this, the jail where he was present, there he met a man who had murdered a golfer and his girlfriend, and he had accused an innocent banker of this murder. Now hearing this, Andy was shocked because the innocent banker mentioned in this story was none other than Andy himself. Now after knowing this, Andy quickly went to the warden and asked him to reopen his case so that he can prove his innocence by making Tony a witness. However, the warden refused him and locked Andy in a dark room for a month. Actually, the warden was afraid that if Andy was released from jail, then who will manage his illegal money? Now in the meantime, when Andy was locked in that room, Tony got his high school degree, and he passed with very good marks. Now after a few days, the warden called Tony out of the jail where Chief Guard Headley shot Tony and killed him. And with this last proof of Andy's innocence was also erased. Now the next morning, the warden gave Andy information about Tony's death and told him that Tony was trying to escape from the jail, so Headley shot him. However, Andy did not believe the story of the warden, and in anger, he refused to help the warden. But the warden threatened him and said that if you don't do my job, then I will close the jail's library forever. Now after coming out of this room, Andy started to feel very sad, and seeing this, Red started to worry about him. Now in conversation, Andy told that after marriage, he used to be very busy with his work, and this had an effect on his married life. And somewhere he considers himself responsible for his wife's death. Here Andy told Red that now I have only one purpose in my life, and that is to get out of this jail and reach a city in Mexico where I can spend the rest of my life comfortably. He also told Red a special location where he had hidden something, and he wanted that when Red came out of the jail, then he would go to that place and take out that hidden thing. Now such days passed, and now Andy started to manage the money of the warden again. However, Red was not happy to see all this, and he started to worry about Andy, and his worry increased when he found out that Andy had asked for a 6-foot-long rope from the rest of the prisoners. Now the next morning, when the guards took attendance of all the prisoners, they did not find Andy anywhere, and after a little investigation, it was revealed that Andy Dufresne has escaped from this jail. Actually, in the beginning of this story, the hammer that Red had given to Andy, he had made a tunnel in the jail wall using that hammer. And during this excavation, the soil that came out, Andy would fill it in his pocket and drop it in the ground of the jail. And he had asked Red for Rita Hemsworth's poster so that he could hide this big tunnel in the wall. And this reveals that Andy had made a plan to run away from this jail from the first day. Now before running away, Andy kept a lot of documents of the warden and some of his clothes in a plastic bag and escaped from this jail overnight. Here the warden was looking for Andy. On the other side, Andy went to all the banks where the fake accounts of the warden were open. Here Andy told himself Randale and took out all the money of the warden. Along with this, he sent all the evidence against the warden to the biggest newspaper of the country. Now as soon as this news came out, there was a ruckus in the whole country. And as soon as this news came out, there was a ruckus in the whole country. Here the police arrested Headley for the murder of Tony, and the other corrupt officers present in the jail were also caught. But when the police reached the warden's office, they found the warden dead. Actually, the warden had shot himself with his gun because he was very ashamed of what he had done and could not spend the rest of his life in jail. Now after a few months of this incident, Red got a postcard which was not sent by anyone else but by Andy himself. And seeing this postcard, Red understood that Andy has reached Mexico safely. Now when Red completed 50 years in this jail, the jail board members called him again for an interview. However, this time he did not try to please the board members at all and expressed his regret over his sins. Now seeing Red's honesty, the board members were very impressed, and this time his bail was approved. Now when Red came out of jail, he went to the same hotel where Brooks was staying, and he also did the same job that Brooks had done. After this, he went to the address given by Andy where he found a lot of money and a letter from Andy in a box. And in this letter, Andy had told where he was present in Mexico. Now before going to Mexico, Red went to that hotel and wrote his name along with Brooks. Now in the next scene, we see Red on a beach where he meets Andy, and seeing his old friend Red, Andy is also very happy. I hope you liked today's story. If you like this video, then like it and subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments that where are you watching this video from. See you in the next video, but till then be safe and keep